So I had a lot of fun doing the Beast video, ended up seeing some really good takes on there, and I've been wanting to talk about the church. So we're just going to keep the ball rolling. What are some ways that you would incorporate the church more into the story? You know, going back to things like Faith Zero and Faith Stay Night, the church has always been an organization that more so stays out of the way, right? That's their whole thing. They want to survey the Grail War, make sure as few people know as possible, and then take down the people that they view as heretics or anybody that opposes them. That being said, when they do finally come around, they're usually just sprinkled throughout the story, and their involvement is very precise. They get in and they get out. And that's it. That's your church lore for the next 6 years. Literally, I'm not even exaggerating. And that's my thing. I want to see the church at the forefront for once. Now, I know that completely goes against everything that they stand for, but I do have some ways to make this possible without going against their standard. The first one is making a completely new faction. And the reason being is that opposed to that standard of them always being in the shadows, these guys are meant to be out in the open. They're scouts. They're like crash test dummies. The idea behind them is that they're there to dupe people out of information by hiding in plain sight, and that way it doesn't interfere with the natural order. You know, we hardly get a scene with more than a few main church members all at once. You do have anomalies here and there like Mario and Hansa's nuns, and again, this is because of the nature of the way that they function. I understand that they're supposed to be like this in public, but there's no reason that we can't get this behind the scenes, and that's what the scouts are for. Maybe they're leaning on the wall and chiming in on these conversations, allowing the audience to come in. It could be exactly like Wodome. I would love to see a round table of church members the same way Wodome was with his cryptors, just in their own way. I want to see them interacting with each other on the field, on a personal level, preferably for them, so it feels like a real organization. We kinda have this in Strange Fake with Hansa and his nuns, the quartet, but the quartet works under him. I want all these people to at least be on the same level. That way everybody's carrying their weight and throwing in an interesting piece. Also, with nobody being a subordinate, that makes a chance for better conversation because everybody has their own way of going about things, but eventually they gotta agree on something. We definitely need to see them go up against an apostle, front and center. How they would go about doing that, you know, we've seen it from Tsiah, but how would they go about doing this as a group? The apostle would also have to be strong enough that they would even need 4 people to be present to beat them, not just some average apostle that you can one-on-one. So that's part of the first idea. Or 2, you don't even gotta give us a new faction because we have plenty already. Just break down what we already have from their perspective. You know, the origins of how they came about, told completely by them. Take us through Vatican City. What does the Type Moon counterpart look like? We already got glimpses of this in the Tsukihime remake. We need the whole thing. Who was the guy that installed Hansa's grenade launcher and his chainsaw and was successful with it? Story-wise, something like that is just as drastic as doing a real surgery. So who's that guy? Where'd you find him? And is this a surgeon that's contracted to the church? What did he get for performing such an operation? Where is this torture chamber where they had Tsiah and they were experimenting with her immortality? Who exactly was a part of that? The process of them making their holy weapons. Tsiah's 7th holy scripture, for example, is said to have been made from a phantasmal beast, the unicorn. How did they go about bringing the two together? And out of all the phantasmal beasts they could have chose, why did they choose the unicorn specifically? How do you even become a church member to begin with? You know, it's said that Kyrie went through one of the most brutal departments in the church in terms of training. How does that training differ from the regular training? What is the regular training? I don't even know what the regular training is to compare the two. We're aware of the apparent they teach them how to fight and use black keys. Where is this training located? Who's the main teachers? What are the objectives? Is there a certain number of missions that they have to complete? The minute details. Funny enough, some of the most interesting scenes in Tsukihime, and the same thing can be said about Kagetsu Toya, is when they take the light off of Shiki and they put it on people like Nero, Roa, Crimson Moon, Coma, It really just pulls you in. The same thing needs to be done with them. I still want more depth on Tsiah and Bazette when they were working in the field together. Who is the person that they had to go against that would require them working together? Of all people, we already know how Tsiah is coming by himself. We already know how Bazette is coming by herself. Imagine the enemy or the enemies that they had to go against that even they couldn't take down on their own. It's gotta be insane. And while we're on that, give us a breakdown on their operations. All of these unnamed heretics that they go against, they don't have to remain unnamed. I'll take drama CDs. The drama CD covering Edmund, where Edmund went up against Roa back when he was Tarantella, that was really good. You know, it explains how he gained access to the flames that he's using now, how they were a part of the secret treasure of Monte Cristo, and he's had them ever since. Him actually fighting Roa and defeating him. Roa's out here using sealing spells and lightning attacks. Edmund is turning around and burning him alive. It could be like that. If we could just get more drama CDs, that would work. The Holy Church drama CD collection is perfect. At times in FGO, we'll get people that's a part of the church and then nothing happens. Jacques de Molay literally was a Grand Master of the Templars. Nothing happened. Jerusalem is fine, still doesn't speak to the actual church itself. I understand that they're casual members and how the members on the ground usually don't operate with members behind the scenes, but that's still a missed opportunity. They're still all a part of the church. They're not that unfamiliar. They could move just like the scouts and just be giving us more details into the background. Pope Johanna, she just got put into the game. She's a part of the church. I'm sure whatever she ends up doing will have nothing to do with the church. She might bring it up because it's lore necessary, but they don't really focus in on it and dive into it. The burial agency. I'll take anybody from the burial agency at this point. Hansa, for instance, he's an executor, right? Remember when I broke down the fight that he had against Jester, where he was running up skyscrapers, catching cars, catching bullets in barrages? Okay, the guy that was doing all of that, he looks up to them, the burial agency, just to put that into perspective. So you can't even fathom what the burial agency is out here doing, and yet my desires remain unquenched. It's a sad story to tell. Being super optimistic, I would rather take an event on the church altogether, the most unlikely of them all. But we gotta get something going here. The director, Narbarek, I need her. Where's she at though? Her ancestor who co-founded the group altogether, Mr. Don. And then of course, we gotta see the dead apostles. I wanna see the dead apostles they fought up until this point in time, and even some of the ones that they plan on going against right now. I wanna see the fight that Mario had against one of the demon lords, one that said that he came out on top. How did that go down? People like Mayrum Solomon, who is also a dead apostle ancestor. Usually we don't rock with y'all, but apparently he's so good we don't even care. Just like CL. At this point, I'm convinced the church will hire anybody that'll get the job done. You could walk in there with a chainsaw in your hand. Are you gonna help us fight heresy? Yes, you're hired. Well, what about my resume? Don't need it. Am I lying? When Carnival Phantasm comes back around, I need that as a skit. There's so much to get into. Kiara, Karin, Kiray's daughter. And speaking of dead apostles, we're definitely gonna get back into that because everything's been revamped and it's been a long time anyway. That is yet another group that equally needs more screen time.